Shalom, and welcome back to Bnei Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. Well, we begin reading the book of Exodus. As I mentioned in the previous class, the tradition is to read / study the entire 5 books of the Torah on an annual cycle basis. Thus, every week, we read another few chapters, which amounts to a Torah portion. That being the case, this Sabbath, which will be the first week of January 2024, we're going to be reading the first portion, the first section of the book of Exodus. Now, in English, or universally, this book is called the book of Exodus. And the first portion is the first portion of Exodus. Or you count it by chapters. However, in the original sources, meaning in the traditional Torah source, this book is called Shemot, which literally translates names. Why is it called names when the theme is really Exodus? Because the very first words of this book are Ve'ele Shemot Bnei Yisrael. These are the names of the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, Haba'im Mitzrayma, which came to Egypt. So since it begins with names, therefore, the book is called Names, even though it doesn't really talk about names. It's just the first few verses enumerate the names of the children of Jacob. Now, the real question is, it would seem odd that Exodus, the enslavement that is in Egypt, and then the ensuing Exodus are highlighted in the idea of Shemot, names. What does it got to do with anything? Besides, why is the Torah again telling us the names of the 12 sons of Jacob who either arrived with him in Egypt or like Joseph, who was already in Egypt? Don't we know that already by now? I mean, at the end of the book of Genesis is full of that. It told us already. It told us, it named each person, each individual person, and in total amounting to 70 people that arrived or that in total were now the family of Jacob in Egypt. Why the need again to tell it to us? Well, I'll tell you. The sages tell us that indeed, over time, the children of Israel, at least many of them, if not even most of them, began to assimilate. They began to lose their identity to some degree and assimilate amongst the Egyptians, the Egyptian culture. And God forbid, all would have been lost. And there wouldn't be anyone to take out of Egypt, so to speak. Or at least not the entire family, not the entire tribe. However, there was something unique about them. And that's what's being highlighted here. They had pride in their identity, in the core of their identity. And that expressed itself in their names. They maintained their names. They didn't change them for Egyptian names or Egyptian culturally influenced names, but rather they kept their original names. In the words of the sages, these are the names they came down to Egypt with, and quote, these are the names they left Egypt with. And that's something very, very powerful. You know, we all get influenced by our surroundings. Yes, to whatever degree, what happens around us, what happens in the world, the modernization, and in fact, I can even say the corruption of culture, of ideas, has an effect on us to one degree or another. Albeit, if you're very, very strong in your core principles, it's not going to totally dislodge you from where you are, from your foundation, but it's going to have an effect. How do you maintain? How do you ensure that you do not become assimilated, thus corrupted? Be proud of who you are. You have to wear your identity You have to carry your identity. In this case, identification, your name, as a source of pride. Don't change it. Don't assimilate it. Do not tarnish it by, God forbid, compromising it. Be true to your identity. On the one hand, it can seem to be so generic, so superficial. I mean, it's just a name. But it really, when you think about it, as you see here, it really hits down to the core of it. When you don't change your name, and I don't mean, God forbid, to go against the grain. You need to assimilate in a positive sense. If you're, let's say, an immigrant into the society you live into, you came to live in. But don't be embarrassed by where you came from, who you are, and what your core cultural traditions are. Keep your name. Be proud of your name. If you're a God-fearing person, which hopefully we all are, or if you're someone we follow the teachings of the Torah, don't be afraid to express it. You don't have to run on the streets and scream it out all day. But if you are asked, or even in your own conscience, if you ask yourself, who am I? Be proud to say, I'm a Torah observant person. I'm a person who fears God. I'm a God-fearing individual, or try to be. That's my name. That's who I am. Be proud of it. That will ensure that no matter what winds are blowing, whatever direction they may be, whatever culture, whatever pop culture, whatever the new, so to speak, intellectual forces are trying to push down our throat, to wokeism and everything else, they will not shake you. They will not dislodge you from your core foundation when you have that identity.